This episode of The Tome Show is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you to our patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Welcome to The Tome, a D&D news, reviews, and interviews show, and I'm your Tome host, Jeff Greiner.
And I'm Tracy Hurley, and in this episode, number 387, we're going to keep examining the 24-25 version of the Monster Manual at an elemental level.
And joining us for this episode is the Ifrit of the Tome Show. Brandes Stoddard comes to us from designing for Dimension 20, Worlds Beyond Number, and many other things, as well as being a Tome Show regular. And he does it all with the burning passion that can only be found in the city of brass.
I have recently undergone elemental restoration. There were some troublesome heroes who vexed me once.
Once. We are, as you may notice, in our now 11-part series on the examination of the Monster Manual. We are without our regular guest, Jared Rasher, this time around. Schedules just conflicted, and we decided if we're ever going to get through it, we can't just cancel an episode if we don't have to. So we're going on without him, and I am hopeful, not that he's the cause of the how long it takes us to go through things, but I'm hopeful that with only 3 of us, maybe we can get all the way through the E's.
Well, we can at least regard this as a test, right? With Jared as the control, this is the test.
Sure, yes.
So if it goes well, it's his fault, and if it goes badly, it's his fault. So congratulations, Jared. It's all on you, bud. One way or another.
It helps that the E's are relatively short, although they're meaty. There's not a lot of creatures in the E's, but the ones that are there may have a good amount of things to talk about. So I suppose let's jump into it.
So I guess, in case it's escaped notice, we're talking about the latest Monster Manual. And I don't even know, can we call it the latest at this point? I know it is the most recent, but...
Are there any
delayed release, so it's the latest twice over.
Are there any Monster Manuals that have come out since?
Not from WotC.
Okay.
Yeah, not from WotC. All right. And then,
I did get the new starter boxed set, and it has a Monster Manual that is, the same stat blocks as this, but it's a stack of cards.
Oh, fun.
Huh?
Yeah.
So in case you've missed it, D&D 5e got an update in 2024, and we're doing a monster by monster dive into the book. So to get us started, it's disclosure time. And since Jared's not here, none of us are reviewing with honors since we all got review copies.
So there we are. We left off having finished the D's and ready to start the E's, which means we begin with the Earth Elemental. And we usually, if you're new to the series, this is a weird place to start, but if you're new to the series, we usually like to start with Brandes telling us what's different between 2014 to 2024 Earth Elementals.
So the big thing that's going to be true for all the elementals, and I think it was true for some of our golems also, right? Damage resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons, that's gone, right? And so they make up for that with just giving it more hit points. So it's bumped up from 126 to 147, which is, maybe a hit at CR5. Maybe about a hit. Could be 2 at the outside.
I mean, if it's a rogue or a paladin throwing a smite in there, you're going to hit that difference pretty quick. But
for sure. Just depends. Let's see, we got the same AC, same speeds. Earthglide and Siege Monster are doing the same stuff. Doesn't leave a tunnel or disturb what it passes through because it just is Earth. And it gets a ranged attack now because they've recognized that the easier access to flying makes things really, really need a ranged attack a lot of the time. Also, entangled and restrained just sort of means things need to have ranged attacks if you can justify it at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's tricky because on one hand, like, I get it mechanically, and it's no fun for a DM to throw something out and then it gets entangled or everybody's up, flies up ahead, up above or whatever, and your monster doesn't get to do anything. But also, those choices tell a story, and sometimes it's okay for the heroes to feel heroic and beat things. Now, in this case, I don't think it's out of line to say that an earth elemental can throw rocks.
Right. So it's taking a damage hit, right? On the other hand, if you're flying and you're large or smaller, you now have the prone condition, and so you are not only not flying, you are taking a little dirt nap with all that extra flying damage. What I want to say about that, though, is that flying is an always-on trick a lot of the time. Not for every creature, but really a lot of the time it's going to be an always-on trick.
Mm-hmm.
And an always-on trick doesn't feel nearly as special if it's sort of, yep, I get to do this in this encounter and the next one and the next one. It's not something clever. It's just, oh, well,
although
fine.
if
my fault for not playing a flying character, I guess.
If you're like the Aarakocra in the party, it still feels special because you're the only one doing it.
Right. I don't know.
Again, I don't have an issue with it here.
Right.
Like I said,
what I don't want to see is an encounter where the other PCs were stupid to come to the encounter. They should have just sent the flying character alone, who can just solo it. It just is boring to watch them solo it.
Right.
Right. That's also the thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. No, and there are times like this where it makes perfect sense. It's interesting that rock launch feels an awful lot like giants throwing boulders, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're made of rock and you launch some rock. Cool, seems fine.
That all makes sense to me. There are other instances where they've added ranged attacks where it's like, oh, okay, they gave him this like weird little magical energy manipulation thing that
sometimes
it feels tacked on,
Yep, I agree with that. But that's it for the stats.
So, just because I'm a little late to this game, when you're a flying creature and you get hit with this, does that mean you fall, or is it just you get the other parts of the prone condition?
No, prone causes you to fall if you're flying.
Okay.
So it's actually extra badass to get hit with that.
Yeah, it's very. This is a very bad situation for a flyer.
Yeah, and just because I'm looking right now at the D&D Beyond stuff, I wouldn't necessarily have known that from anything that's written here.
Well, it is possible that I'm remembering something that's not true anymore. I acknowledge that possibility. It was for sure true. Okay, yeah. Let's see. I see that in a legacy. Let's see what we have.
I say that's definitely how it worked in 2014.
Yeah. So in the player's handbook rules glossary, flying. A variety of effects allow a creature to fly. While flying, you fall if you have the incapacitated or prone condition, or your fly speed is reduced to 0.
Yep.
You can stay aloft in these circumstances if you can hover.
Right.
So the fly spell, where you can hover, is fine against this.
Right. That is mechanically, to my memory, that is mechanically the way it worked in 2014 too.
Yeah, it's just, if you can get it, it's so complicated because you have to look at 3 different things to figure it out, right? Because it's like I can't just hover over prone and it tell me.
Right. But you can knock the Aarakocra out of the sky. You can't knock a beholder out of the sky.
Yeah.
For all the beholder PCs that are running around.
I mean, I can have an earth elemental fighting a monster stat.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Do we have more to talk about with earth elementals, or shall we move on to the Ifrit?
I do really like the D8 table of earth elemental compositions. I think that's very classy.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, unless it's just a summoned creature, I don't know that I would roll randomly on that table to figure out what my earth elemental is made out of.
Sure.
But I definitely, a random list is also just a menu. And I'm happy to like look through the menu and be like, oh, we're in this location. This is the thing that would make the most sense. Let me use that description.
Yep. Also, I like that the sidebar quote is by the Tao. I think that's neat.
Oh, yep. That you've got a genie talking about earth elementals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And just our element is the best propaganda. Yeah.
Right. All right, then let's talk about Afridi, which we talked about Jinn last time, and that is your air elemental genies. The Afridi are the fire elemental genies. I don't remember if we mentioned that, at least based on the artwork, genies no longer have cyclone legs. They actually have legs in the artwork now.
Yeah. And I mean, the Afridi have leg-shaped legs in 2014, and you can kind of tell they probably have leg-shaped legs in 2024.
Right.
But there's a sword that's dripping lava or fire or something that's making it a little harder to see. The art's very cool. I did like the 2014 art also. This is, more rad.
Yeah.
But they're both good. Let's see. They've picked up 12 hit points. They've picked up elemental restoration as opposed to elemental demise. So it's sort of a very deliberate flip from no body to not only are they not dead, they're coming back just fine, and they'll see you in 1d4 days.
Right.
They pick up magic resistance. That's neat. They didn't have that before. And they pick up wishes, like we talked about with the Jinn. So that's pretty fun. Their spell casting is a bit reduced because they lost enlarge reduce, and they've narrowed down some tricks. It looks like, they lost conjure elemental, which is weird. I don't know.
It does feel a little bit like a thing they should be able to do, but
yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually conjure an elemental anymore.
That's true.
If you remember how that has changed to being a zone effect,
right?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen a summon, except that summons do not go great with monsters because there's so many stats to figure out. So just here's another stat block it can summon in would be cool, except that blows XP budgets. I don't know. They don't like doing that anymore.
No, but it is kind of classic, like going way back D&D.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't dislike creatures having variance with that ability, and then I just don't pull it out very often. But when I do, then it is scary.
Yeah. Then let's see. The average damage of their main attack has stepped up. And their melee and range main attacks have both picked up some extra damage, so that's nice to see. Average of 6 damage on Heated Blade and average of 7 damage on Hurl Flame. So that's just meaningfully better round over round damage output, and a much clearer how I use this gameplay loop for the DM. Because
and an extra
less pressure. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, and an extra 6 or 7 points of damage doesn't feel like a lot until you realize they multi-attack with 3 attacks per round. So that that ends up being closer to 20 extra points of damage every round, assuming they hit.
And the reduced spellcasting really leans into just a very clarified combat loop. You can still do stuff like the level 7 Wall of Fire is not a joke.
Right.
That's a murder weapon, and no mistake. But this is going to be pretty convenient to use, and just use Wall of Fire to split the PCs up and try to defeat in detail. Go for it.
Right. And the rest of their spellcasting is all very it's all very buffing utility sort of spells. It's not, other than Wall of Fire, they're not attacking with their spells.
That's right.
They're doing tricksy things with their spells and then stabbing you with their lava sword.
Everybody loves a good lava sword, right?
Right. It's my favorite kind of sword.
I love them too.
Yep. There you go. Perfect.
And here again, we get sort of a pull quote from someone who was talking about how awesome this element is.
Right. And by someone, you mean a Mephit who works for the Afridi.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that text is just small enough to be real hard to read on that name, because woo.
Yeah. Vein.
Sure, bud.
I did it.
Yep.
As much as I'm ever going to, I did it.
And it's worth saying that they have moved from lawful evil to neutral. It's much more like they're sentient creatures and have the full range of personality types. If you read their flavor text, many Efreet have wicked reputations, but others delight in fire's beauty. Blah 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 blah. So they don't have to be jerks. It's fine.
Although it's a little bit, I mean, generally, I don't dislike that approach. It is interesting to me that and I think we talked about this earlier, that like in other areas, they've leaned more into planar creatures being sort of like a living embodiment of a concept.
Yeah.
But in the case of genies, they went the opposite direction, where and made them more just a society and a civilization that with all the nuance that comes with that.
Well, halfway, right? The other thing is they're saying they embody fire. Fire isn't innately evil at all, right? There's sort of destructive fire that is your friend. There's destructive fire that is not your friend, and all of these things are reflected in, the range of Afridi.
Right.
Yeah. At least that's what I think I'm reading there.
Yep. And I think that's true either way. Moving the alignments though does change the story of the creatures a little bit and changes what exactly they embody. And how they embody.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yep.
All right. Are we ready to go on to our next elemental creature? That's 3 in a row.
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Sure.
Our next elemental creature, the Elemental Cataclysm, is, I believe, a new creature. At the very least, I'm certain it has not been in a core Monster Manual until now. And it kind of leans into the trend that they've had where I guess they've just decided, hey, people like the Tarrasque. We should just do Tarrasques from different origins, right? We've had there's the Ooze Tarrasque, there's the and now we have our Elemental Tarrasque. They want to do more kaiju.
Well, so I have a very specific perspective on this from my freelance writing, but I've now been hired at least twice and maybe 3 times. For 3 different books, I've been hired to write kaiju. People want some damn kaiju. That is what I know. And
I'm not saying they're not. I'm just pointing out that it's a trend that they have going on in this book.
Yeah, I'm saying I think it would be a serious mistake not to have included something like this. That's a big elemental magic forward kaiju. So good work here is my take.
Yep. It does feel, I mean, I could have also seen them doing a book of giant monsters instead of a giant book of monsters, a book of giant monsters, and just do like an all kaiju book as a whole separate product where they could introduce all of these things. But I mean, they're not taking up enough of a page count that I feel like I'm missing the really important things and I'm mad about it or anything. So
yeah, that's super fair.
So the elemental cataclysm, it tells the story of in the sort of liminal spaces between the elemental planes, the elemental chaos that we had in 4th edition is still a thing. And it is just the place where all of the elements go crazy, slamming into each other and creating all sorts of craziness. And in that elemental chaos, sometimes the forces of the elements come together in such a way that they create a giant kaiju Tiamat-like elemental. The artwork is very much Tiamat, but instead of dragon head, well, it actually kind of is dragon heads, but it's not the different chromatic dragon heads. It's instead a dragon head made out of water and a dragon head made out of fire and what have you.
Yep.
And occasionally these things accidentally find their way out of the elemental chaos. It's a little bit like back in my college days, somebody in our campaign, I think we were playing Al-Qadim at the time, and they were talking about how, so if you really dig into some of the lore, it kind of feels like once you get to the deep ocean, it's just like all of the random encounters are Leviathans, just Leviathan, Leviathan, Leviathan. This is why you don't go into the deep ocean. And it feels like the elemental cataclysm is the Leviathan of the elemental chaos. Like, this is why you just don't go there, because these things are around and they will destroy you.
So I agree with that, but at the same time, I think that D&D generally benefits from saying, here's a cool reason to go to absolutely every part of our cosmos.
Oh, right. I don't think putting monsters in liminal spaces has ever, and saying this is why you don't go there, has ever stopped a party from going there.
Well, if they're all CR22 dudes, then
right.
It stops you a little bit. It's gonna at least make you think.
Make you think, yeah. You'll have to make sure you're ready if you're going to go in. So yeah, so like you said, the elemental cataclysm is a 4-headed gargantuan CR22 elemental monstrosity
with more immunities than God. Good heavens, so many immunities,
but not to bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage.
That's true. That's true. But acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, thunder, blinded, charmed, deafened, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, stunned, and unconscious. My dude.
I don't...
Okay.
When you're... Talk me through the idea of what it means to be immune to unconscious. So you get to 0 hit points and you just keep fighting?
No, you're dead because you're a monster.
I suppose.
Unconsciousness isn't what kills monsters. Being at 0 hit points kills monsters because they don't have death saves.
I mean, unless the DM wants them to live or whatever, yeah.
But no, there are ways to be unconscious when you're not at 0 hit points. That's what you're actually immune to.
Yeah. Or or when you are at 0 hit points and the party decides to do non-lethal damage.
Sure.
There's just no such thing as non-lethal damage, I guess, for an elemental cataclysm. Or maybe in that situation they can get down to 0, but then every attack just knocks off 2 more death saves and then they die. So they still won't last very long.
There's no deeper explanation of sort of what does it mean to be immune to this condition, because there's a lot of areas in which, like, immune to blinded is a very confusing idea. What does it mean to be immune to that? Because that presupposes some things about how your sight works.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. And these guys
but at least the blinded condition generally applies the same way across PCs and monsters, whereas as you pointed out, unconscious typically doesn't.
Yeah.
So
I do think it's funny to have true sight and be immune to blinded, but have a passive perception of 12. That seems very funny to me.
Well, and like to me, reading this feels. I know that they put that creature in with the 4 heads or 3 heads or whatever it is, but I actually like just thinking of it as that huge landscape picture instead, because it doesn't get many options to. It doesn't make a lot of decisions, right? So it can somehow do the control weather and say cast a spell, but I think of it less as casting a spell and more, just it's chaos, right? And a cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the rest of this, like I guess you decide when you're going to do rumbling movement, but the event itself is a recharge random, and then you roll a random table, and that's its big thing each round, or potentially each round.
Yeah, and part of that cataclysmic event random table of 4 possible things that it will do.
Yeah,
there's a part of that like it bothers me that's a recharge, because like I want it kind of doing that every round. It's kind of signature thing, right? On the other hand, it recharges on a 4 through 6, which means it's got a 50-50 chance of getting it back every round. So it's a better than average recharge.
And it does have a -1 to its intelligence. Like it's got a 9, and so it's not really. It has some wisdom, but it's not making a ton of choices.
No, it is clearly like it's intelligent, but it's not super intelligent. It is a like mini kaiju. It is a natural disaster on legs. Although there's nothing to say it needs to have legs. It is interesting. You point out that you don't even you see the art there, and that's not necessarily how you would imagine it. And as you read through the 3-paragraph description of it, there's nothing in the description or even the stat block that indicates that that's what it needs to look like. Even the cataclysmic event, and there's 4 different things, one for each type of element. It's called cataclysmic event. It's not called cataclysmic breath weapon or whatever that would indicate that it has a head.
Right.
Yeah, it needs something to like some body of some types, because when it moves, it doesn't provoke an opportunity attack, and if it's within 5 feet, something happens. But that's it.
But it could just be a swirling maelstrom of elemental forces.
Right.
What struck me about the picture is that that's almost certainly supposed to be Waterdeep, because Griffin Cavalry.
I mean, I could imagine a scenario where Waterdeep's not the only place with Griffin Cavalry, but it doesn't. It doesn't not look Waterdeepy to me.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the main canonical location that has Griffin Cavalry. And I'm certainly not saying other places aren't allowed, just that it hasn't been written out so far.
It is interesting. Like, if you want to say that that's Waterdeep, fine. But I got to figure out, am I looking at a range of mountains back there in the background, or is that a singular mountain? Because Waterdeep just has the one.
Yeah, I assume that's supposed to be the one.
The one,
and the second page here is unrelated art that is incidentally also a mountain.
They just needed something pretty to put down there on that margin.
Right, but also sort of is this an additional mountain behind it? Could just be, well, it wasn't there before it got here, but now it is.
Yeah. Well, and there's a whole that it has this elemental alterations table, since we've enjoyed the tables generally, that does a cool thing where, like, when this thing sort of rolls through your land, like, and even if you're lucky and it rampages and it leaves behind elemental chaos in its wake. And there's 8 different things in this list of weird things that might be happening.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
So I'm sure that artwork on the opposing page, that's just number 8 on the list. It's just a series of dramatic rock formations.
So dramatic.
Yes. I mean, they can't even believe that they're there right now. It's ridiculous. Those rock formations are very dramatic about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to Empyreans then?
Am. Let me pull up Empyreans in the 2014.
Which will be helpful in some cases and otherwise
for
not helpful because we have a new Empyrean stat block. We have the traditional, over CR20 badass Empyreans, and then we also have a CR1 Empyrean Iota, which, tell me if I'm wrong, feels a little bit like, hey, Empyrean babies? Are we killing Empyrean babies?
So, arguably, but what's kind of happening here is that they're pretty close to being like old school petitioners, right? Because these are sort of random things that sort of orbit around the Empyreans. Thoughts, memories, or indirect attention of deities personified and given a measure of autonomy.
Yeah, they're kind of they're not really. Maybe one could add to the lore and say that an iota that sticks around long enough grows and becomes an Empyrean. But you're not wrong. It doesn't necessarily state it that way. It's just sort of the physical embodiment of an idea or a memory that a god has that floats around.
But Empyreans are themselves, God's spawn rather than sort of technically being gods. It describes them as near demigods.
Right.
This is a place where I feel the art is a big upgrade. Real big upgrade. The 2014 art is sort of very, very simple. It's supposed to be sort of a Colossus of Rhodes type guy.
I was going to say, historically, I think Empyreans have been depicted as sort of in a very sort of Greek style. And this is not that.
This is not that. This art is pretty rad. It's pretty rad. But let's cover the Iota, and then I'll do the side-by-side on the big guy.
Yeah, so like we said, the Empyrean Iota is just sort of the physical embodiment of the ideas of a god or the memories of a god or whatever. And they're a CR1 22 hit point creature that floats around as a sort of a glyph that floats around. I guess that's what you're seeing in the artwork, floating around is these little glowing glyphs. It didn't even occur to me that that's what they were showing, but that's definitely what that is. And they're not really intended to be combatants that your PCs run into so much as a helpful idea, because it seems like their biggest thing they're doing is casting Healing Word and Bless and Lesser Restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking though, could be kind of cool if they represent ideas, but if they are snuffed out, that idea changes or disappears.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think there's all kinds of interesting things you could do with a story with this idea of the Iotas. It does imply. I mean, the general lore of Empyreans is that, at least now, it describes in 5th edition now, that they are spawned by deities. And I think in previous editions, sometimes they've been described as being like the children of gods or what have you. I know there's a few that have shown up canonically in Forgotten Realm stuff that are named, and they are specifically the children of like 2 specific gods or whatever. Whereas the Iotas don't feel the same as like the children of a god, so much as this thing that becomes manifested as a result.
I do think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's super funny to have a CR1 creature with a Titan subtype. That's very funny to me.
Yeah, this is also the D&D tendency to use Greek mythology terms and then reverse their meanings. Wherein the Titans are children of gods as opposed to the gods being children of Titans.
Yep. It's okay. You can just fix it in your own campaign. And should.
Or just, I mean, it's a subcategory. Just don't call them Titans.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to know.
I didn't really remember there being Empyreans before 2014, but I certainly acknowledge the stuff I've forgotten.
I definitely remember them from 4E and 3rd edition, and I would be shocked with all of the material that came out if it wasn't also around in 2nd edition.
Sure. I'm okay being wrong this one time.
Okay. Phew.
So the side-by-side on Empyreans, their overall like action situation has gotten clarified. They picked up a few hit points at CR23, not necessarily enough to be written home about. That's okay. I mean, they're still, super beings, right? Like, if one were to just take this stat block and say, I'm gonna make some minor adjustments and call this Superman, no one would think that was weird.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. When we talked about the art earlier, it's clearly not pulling from Greek style aesthetics anymore.
Yeah.
But when I look at it, it does read a little bit comic book to me. Like, I almost want to take the Eternals from Marvel and put them in Atlantean armor from DC, and it's kind of what they look like to me.
Yeah. Sort of Eternals or Celestials or something by that general family of name in Marvel or DC comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've changed around the legendary actions. Everybody's legendary actions got changed around, right?
It's interesting to me that they have a legendary action called Smite that doesn't function the way anybody who knows D&D would think of Smite being.
La la la.
This legendary action Smite, which allows you to shoot a ray of either necrotic or radiant damage, which is not how anybody in D&D thinks about Smite.
Yeah, that's true. And they've got Bolster as a sort of limited self-bless variant, right? But, here again, they've kind of dialed down some of the spellcasting, though their spellcasting was a very short list before and it's a very short list now, so it's not that different. But I like that they have Commune, right? That's pretty fun.
The thing about Bolster that's interesting to me is it's kind of a way of giving them a low-key regeneration and plus other things, because they don't have regeneration, but as a legendary action every turn they can give themselves 10 temporary hit points, which is kind of regeneration, right?
Well, and if someone were they can only do that once per set of legendary actions, but like it's 10 temporary hit points. Let me tell you, at this CR, that is not gonna account for much.
Oh,
that's okay.
It'll be gone and around, but
it'll be gone in less than one attack.
Sure, but over the course of an entire combat, when they have 346 hit points, that could be another round of combat that the Empyrean gets to stick around.
Could be. Worth saying they're not immune to stunned. So they're burning legendary resistances if there's a monk in the party, and they're burning them pretty fast.
Although they do have 4 legendary resistances, and that helps.
Yep.
And is that a con save amongst stun? Yeah. Which they have a +10 to, which is not nothing.
It's not nothing. I mean, and they get to that +10 with a 30 con. Right. Okay, fair enough, boss.
Yeah, it is not one of their class saves. They don't get a proficiency bonus to it.
Right, but it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Well, because they also have a 30 strength, and they do get the proficiency bonus on that save.
Oh, and there's something here that I really, really like. So in 2014, their Maul has a DC 15 save to avoid being stunned, right? Okay, DC 15 is not that scary at high CR, but it's still, stunned is not super fun for PCs. This gives you an option to take extra damage instead and not be stunned.
Right, you're not making a save at all. It's automatic. You're going to be stunned unless you choose to take extra damage and then not be stunned. That's interesting.
21 extra force damage is not a joke.
No, but being stunned sucks. So that's going to be a hard choice for players to make.
Yep.
And it bypasses resistance or immunity.
Yep.
The
force damage.
So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa. So
now, you've got 2014 in front of you.
I have.
Were they Celestials or Fiends in 2014 too?
There were Celestials, definitely, with a sidebar about some of them turn evil.
Okay. Because
there's no Fiend thing.
I don't remember them ever being Fiends before this stat block, but
nope.
And it impacts it doesn't say this. I suppose like the Divine Ray does either necrotic damage or radiant damage, and it just says the Empyrean chooses. But in my mind, the Celestial version is going to do radiant, and the necrotic is going to be for the Fiends. I guess technically rules is written. That's not the way it works.
Right, and I'd take this opportunity to remind you that like the 2024 Aasimar also have that choose radiant or necrotic split, right? And that's fine.
There are gods of death and undeath that necrotic would make sense with, that would be spawning Celestials theoretically.
From a PC point of view, radiant is just better more than 90% of the time.
Yes.
Like, radiant resistance is so much rarer than necrotic resistance.
That's probably true. I haven't dug into 2024's changes on that real deeply, but that feels like it's generally probably true for PCs as well, that they're more likely to have necrotic resistance than radiant.
Oh, yeah, much more.
Yeah.
The radiant resistance has gotten more common among NPCs than it was, starting with Fizzbands. So we started to see a lot more NPCs using radiant.
Yep.
So.
Okay. So is that the Empyreans, or do you have more?
No, that's it.
Then let's talk about our next reminder of how bad the organization is in the book, and talk about the Aaron Yes, which is not listed with devils. It is listed with in the E's.
Is Jeff going to let it go? Friends? No.
Oh, definitely not. So the Aaron Yes is here. Tell us how they've changed.
Well, I think it's important that we only refer to them as the kindly ones, lest they come after us. Right? That's a very important lesson from Greek mythology that I think we should all be up on. So they've picked up some hit points. It's a pretty common thing for me to say in this part of the show here. And they used to have that, mostly kind of standard cosmic bad guy resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing when non-magic, and that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have a hellish weapons trait that was then also factored in. That trait is gone, and they've just factored it in. But what that also kind of means is that you're more sort of on your own recognizance if you want to have them pick up a different weapon for some reason. That's not something that D&D thinks you're ever going to do, and they're mostly right.
Well, and their various, their sword and their withering sword and their entangling rope are not listed as things that players can pick up after they've killed off one of these devils.
Yeah, true.
as lootable either. So
Yep.
all the more reason to be like, oh, they're not going to pick up other weapons because the weapons they have are just a part of who they are, apparently.
Well, right, and previously their action was called longsword. Like, yeah, they leave a longsword. Everything else is just part of them.
Right.
It's cool. So
I've allowed the entangling rope to be lootable when I ran Descent into Avernus, but okay.
Sure. Yeah. And that is specifically what the 2014 DMG seems to say. This doesn't, of course, touch on that. But it says requires magic rope, and that's here to tell you the magic rope can be destroyed.
Right.
And you can't steal it because it will disintegrate.
Or at least you only have it for an hour.
Yeah.
So it is very explicit. It is very explicitly not lootable anymore.
Yeah. If the kindly one dies, it goes away immediately. So, oops.
Do we have this very often where you can target one part of like the creature or something the creature has and have that disappear?
Often,
it's not common. One of the main places we've seen it is in Glory of the Giants. There's a bunch of giants that have a rune object that is destroyable, and if you destroy it, it turns off a ton of their powers.
It's historically been a thing with chain devils as well, who animate chains. Although that's changed in this version of the Monster Manual as well.
And they've lost their longbow. That's just gone.
So they are the one creature that lost a ranged attack.
Well, they've made the entangling rope more versatile.
In that you can entangle. Right. Oh, and it does damage too.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the old version of the rope doing damage, did it?
No, it was just a rope of entanglement, the magic item. But this is very much sort of doing a get over here.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Although it's interesting, like a creature with an entangling rope always felt like this creature should be. They're either very much into BDSM, or they should be some sort of the bounty hunter devils, right? Catching, trapping their prey and what have you. And the Arañas are not necessarily, at least in the lore in this book, being described that way. They are of vengeance and righteous wrath. That is their descriptor.
Yeah. I feel like previous editions sort of made these the counterparts of succubi. Succubi were the demonic ones. These are the diabolic ones, and so made them more sort of sexy girl. And 2014 moves away from that some. This moves away from it a lot more.
Right. They have in recent years come off to me a lot more like devil versions of Valkyries.
That's right.
With the warrior type and the righteousness and what have you.
Yep. That's definitely sort of present there. And if you were to just ignore the alignment and straight up treat these as choosers of the slain, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Should we talk about ettercaps?
Yeah, let's do it.
My first thought is that's interesting art for an ettercap. This artwork for the ettercap, like I like it. In specific, in general, it doesn't look like a scary monster. It looks kind of sad.
I don't know how to tell you this, but that was even more true in 2014.
Oh yeah.
They're well, so it's basically this but fat, like weird sort of pot belly, and maybe sort of man boob. I don't know. It's a weird body shape to go with. This is scarier than that. The 2024 is scarier than 2014 in the art. This looks more like it would lurk and get you.
Yeah, although
it is.
I'm looking at it now. You're not wrong, but the Ettercap from 2014, I don't know. It still comes off as more monstrous to me.
Okay.
Like the Ettercap of 2024, I might try to have a conversation with. The Ettercap of 2014, I wouldn't.
Rude. I mean, even Bilbo talks to that little weirdo in the cave, right?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, that's why the whole Quest of the Ring is able to succeed. So you should talk to the Ettercap, Jeff.
You know what it is? 2014 Ettercap looks a little bit like a purple Thri-kreen.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
Also, this is where I'll mention that Attercop is name checked repeatedly in The Hobbit. So that is a place you might have learned this word.
Putting on your Edition Wars cap there and giving us some history.
Yeah, and the fact that I read The Hobbit to my kiddo not that long ago.
Right on. So that, as much as I say that the new art of the Ettercap looks more relatable to me, it does have like a sentient pixie trapped up in its webs that it's just sort of poking at, as well as a bird and what have you. It is interesting artwork. I do enjoy the approach to making the artwork more having more action to it instead of just being sort of a creature posing for the camera. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, so the stats are pretty similar up top, right? And of course, there's still Spider Climb and Web Walker. Web Sense is not really sort of seen as all that helpful anymore. I think it's probably just using up too much page space for the amount that it's expected to come up, which may be fair, maybe not, right? Mm-hmm. You already kind of need to build the whole map around a web anyway, and so it's got web strand instead of the web action, and it maybe never made a ton of sense for the web action to be stopped by armor, right?
Right. Because if you have armor, you're harder to hit.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's a dex save, and that's fine. And
I do like the new bonus action of reel that you're talking about the Aranyes with the rope doing a get over here scorpion style thing, but Ettercaps are doing that too.
Yep. It's gonna bring you over here and then bite you, and you're gonna get poisoned. That's pretty good.
Well, and it feels like now the Ettercap, like this stat block tells a story about how Ettercaps function and how they live and how they hunt. That is more interesting to me. That they could be like crawling around in the webs on the ceiling and then drop a strand down and grab you, like I feel like some spiders might, and reel you up into the web, and take care of you at their leisure up in the web.
Yep, it is definitely doing that. I would. This is a place where I would really love it if we could take a page from 4E and just talk about some other things to pair with an Ettercap for a good counter design experience.
Sure.
It's not that I don't understand what a giant spider is and how to deploy one. I'm just saying, right? moving beyond that even a little bit would be really fun.
Although I will point out the last sentence in the first paragraph description of ettercaps. Ettercaps often hunt in small groups alongside giant spiders and mundane spider swarms.
Sure.
So that combination is explicitly called out.
Yeah, I mean, that's very good. I would like to see, I don't know, something that they do that is more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe just like, oh, they also work with a bunch of Fae who are jerks. Fine, we're good. All right.
Right.
Because in The Hobbit, right, the Attercop is what Bilbo calls the giant spiders that attack him and the dwarves, right? And the sense is this is part of the malice of the Mirkwood. So, like, what does a malicious forest look like? Well, an Ettercap is a good start, right? Someone tell Mike Shea, make sure that's in Grendelroot.
If it's not, it may be too late to put it in.
Next edition.
the next iteration of Grendelroot that came out quite a while ago.
Yeah.
I'll pass along your message to Mike.
You should not do that. You should not do that at all.
I'll tell him Brandes wants you to do a new version of Grindelroot and include more ettercaps.
For the love of God.
Well, we are one creature away from finishing an entire letter in one episode.
Let's take it easy.
All right. So let's not argue amongst ourselves here, but two heads can be better than one. Let's talk about the Ettin. The Ettin, if you are unfamiliar, is the long-standing traditional monster of the two-headed giant-like creature that oftentimes it describes as being quarrelsome in the descriptor, and historically oftentimes with itself. The two heads argue with themselves or with each other.
Honestly, it's a classic moment. Every player is going to expect to see it.
Yep.
And that's fine and good.
I do like the artwork more.
I actually really like the chart where they could be amping up one another in preparation for a conflict or challenge. Like the idea of them talking each other up is really funny.
Yeah. So it's
bro, you got this, bro, you got this.
The chart is a D8 chart with 8 different things that the Ettin heads might be doing when you first encounter them, and one of them is amping each other up, pumping each other up, getting ready.
These are extremely funny. Making polite small talk as if they're meeting for the first time.
I mean,
oh my God.
At least half of them seem to be the traditional, they're arguing with each other. I mean, one of them is literally arguing over X, Y, and Z. Then one of them is criticizing each other, engaged in a staring contest.
Very funny.
Performatively ignoring one another. That more than the stat blocks is what the Ettin is here for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been sort of other than the ogre, your intro to giants, for a long time. And that's fine and good fun.
Because it's a CR4 giant light creature.
The art sort of notably is some of the least changed. It's new art, but boy is it art that tells the same story and could just be the same dude after a shave.
Well, after 10 or 15 years and it's lost all of its hair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That'd do it, yeah.
It washed all the face paint off and yep.
That's right.
And speaking of unchanged, I'm because we were talking artwork for Ettercaps, I have the 2014 Monster Manual entry open now, and it's pretty darn similar.
Yep.
I mean, the same damage, the same hit points.
Yep. I'm a little sad that they cut like two heads and wakeful, because I think those are fun.
Yes.
But they sort of built that into immunity to stunned and unconscious. And okay, fine.
Right.
All the things they had advantage against before and now immune to. Okay.
Right. Which, I don't know, doesn't tell the same story.
Right. It doesn't. Well, this stat block doesn't have a way to tell you why they're immune to that.
Right.
You have to sort of make that intuitive leap, right? And that's like it isn't as good.
2024 is easier, but 2014 wasn't hard to run anyway, and tells a much better story. What's that?
This is certainly not hard to run at all. Correct?
No. Neither version is hard to run. The new one is maybe slightly easier because just being immune is easier than remembering what it's got advantage on.
Yep.
But only slightly easier.
And one of the main changes is that Battle Axe and Morningstar now do an extra thing to you instead of just damage. So the Battle Axe knocks you down, and the Morningstar imposes disadvantage on next attack that the target makes.
Which is really just saying that the Ettins have weapon mastery.
Correct. Except that Battle Axe usually doesn't get topple.
That's true.
So
that's a strange one, but okay.
You'd sort of expect them to give the Morningstar topple, maybe, and the Battle Axe, I don't know, like graze or something.
Is cleave a thing?
Cleave could be. Well, not for monsters, but it sure could be.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we did it. We have successfully gotten through an entire letter. Tracy has more, though, so maybe we didn't.
I was going to say, there is, looking at the 2014, there is some of the other information about Ettins, and I'm glad that they get it away with.
Okay. What did they lose that was good to lose?
They have this whole how we get new Ettins part, and it's like the females are a dominant gender and basically enslave the male until the child's born.
Yeah, weird.
Well, especially because so much of that, even if you're okay with having those kinds of themes or whatever in your game, that needs to be campaign and setting specific lore anyway.
Yeah.
So just making it the default for all Ettins across the entire, planes is a little bit unnecessary, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a weird move on its best day.
Yeah.
I do kind of like the Demogorgon tie that is mentioned lower down on that page because it's the two-headed one. They have a two-headed theme. Okay, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
Well, and the artwork for 2014, my first thought was the faces look a little bit more bestial and kind of feel like, orcs that have been transformed by Demogorgon and take on a little bit of both of those appearances.
Yeah. In fairness, the 2024, Jeff, how do you feel about wearing prosthetic tusks? Because I think we could probably do the look of one of them real fast on you, bud.
I was going to say the two of us together could very easily become the 2024 Ettin.
Yeah, it seems right. Yeah.
We could cosplay that together pretty well.
Yeah. Just that's a lot of snuggling, bud.
I'm a snuggly guy. All right. Should we go ahead and wrap things up then?
Sure.
We're going to call that the end of this episode. I want to say thank you. As much as we're missing Jared, you should definitely find him and his things various places, Gnome Stew and Think with Advantage and What Do I Know, JR, and whatever else he's working on these days. But I want to thank Brandes for actually being here. Where should people go to find more Brandes in their life?
Well, you can read the little bit that I post on Blue Sky at brandesstoddard.bsky.social. I'm there, but I read a lot more than I write. Really, a lot of what I write is going to be about whatever happened most recently in whatever tabletop game I just ran. That's part of where I keep some campaign notes.
I read a lot more than I read a lot more than I write is literally how you can describe all of my social media use.
Fair. You can also find my writing on brandesstoddard.com. My Patreon is Brandes Stoddard. And I'm on the Tome Show Discord.
All right. I also want to thank everybody who supports the show by being patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Without you, I would have a harder time convincing my wife that doing the show was a good idea. So thanks goes out to some of our higher tier supporters like Doug Palmer, Hyperlexic, Merrick Blackman, and Michael Harrison. And thanks to all of our patrons of all levels for the support that they provide.
And if you'd like to contact us, you can send email, thetomeshow@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media at various places. Jeff is Squatch, SQUACH, and I'm Sarah Dark Magic with an H. Sarah with an H.
All right, and that is episode 387, where we examined the elementary evidence about eloquent entities as we discuss the Monster Manual in this episode of
The Tome, The Tome, The Tome, The Tome.
I'm on the wall.